Welcome back. You have entered or re-entered the House of Neshama, hosted by myself, Ariel
and me, Isa.
So, what are we doing here? The House of Neshama podcast is a place where we muse over Jewish culture, rituals, and humor.
Kvetch about the complications about our Jewish identities.
And certainly lots of that in this episode. And we do so in hopes of sparking necessary conversations and reflections with other Jews across the diaspora.
In other words, you can consider this podcast Matzo Ball Soup for the wandering Jewish soul.
Shalom, Isa. Happy Wednesday.
We are at Wednesday. It is actually sunny out because last time it was dark.
Yes.
But I am so happy to be back. How was your Passover?
It was good. It was interesting. I'm excited that we'll have this post-Pesach moment to take a beat to reflect on it, even though it's been a couple weeks. But yeah. And for you?
It was good. It was like chaotically good.
Yes.
But it was really great. And I was with a lot of family, and you were too, but I was. Yeah. So, but it was just good to be back. And then, it was a chaotic series of events to get there. But eventually I made it there. And then the next day I actually I flew out to Palm Springs for Coachella. So
crazy, wild, amazing. Yeah.
But, I took 6 trains in total in a 5-hour period.
That's wild. Wait, and also you were literally in a desert.
Oh, yeah, I was. I did.
So, actually, this is very Jewish. Yeah, you literally took a journey of all kinds and ended up in a desert. So, it was very on brand.
Yeah. It was a journey. And I think, the theme of this year is just, just going with things and then hoping for the best, but also, appreciating the little things that you get in when it happens, along the way. And then also, that, something is going to happen at the end, but it might not be what you expect it to be. It might be, the little people you meet along the way. One of the most important things, kind of what happened, actually, before I got there was I got lost on I came from Brooklyn, and I had to make it all the way up to Upper Westside to my cousin's house.
What a trek. Yeah.
And yeah, as you know, it's Brooklyn's far away.
It's another country, I swear.
It is. And somehow I'm going to commute from another country to the Upper West Side.
Dayenu.
And I was like, okay, you know what? I'm going to do this. Because I'm in my head, and this is a common theme with me. I'm like, I can do this. And then I'm like, okay, maybe I need a little help. And then I'm like, no, it's okay. And then I'm like, I get on the train, and I'm getting on the J train, right? From Bushwick. And my phone dies right in the middle.
As it goes. Yeah.
Yeah, as it goes. This happens a lot with me. But I swear to God it was charged. Okay. It loses charge really fast.
Yeah.
You start the day with it charged. And I was like, okay, I don't know the exact direction, but I think if I try hard enough, I can just make it work. I can just ask people and because I am a New Yorker, I can still pull that.
Right. So and vibes. It is vibes.
Yeah. And so I get there, and I'm, subway, I'm trying to figure out how to get from, Times Square to the west side of the Upper West Side, just towards the river. And and I'm just in my head, I'm like, oh my God, I have no phone. My shoe is kind of broken. I'm gonna have to, I'm trying a couple different places, look at maps and stuff. I'm like, okay, God, I usually never call on God, right? But I'm like, okay, I just I'm gonna find a way, just help me a little bit, or whatever.
It was literally but it was you're like, dear God, it's me, Isa.
Yeah.
Are you there listening?
Yeah, you know what? I fucked up. I messed up.
Yeah.
And so when I say this, when I think about this, I'm not calling on them to be okay, this is gonna, please just fix this for me. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna work with whatever is thrown my way. And luckily there's opportunities, there's people
wherever the cards
that I can work with. So so it leads me to like finding someone who tells me to take the queue. And then I find the one, and I'm like, okay, got the one, and I'm like, oh, well, I don't have the address now. Now I have to go find the actual, like, building. And, you know, that's like a needle in a haystack, trying to find a single apartment where I am. I'm like, okay. So, like, my phone said, I see a bodega, and I'm like, hey, like, can I please, like, charge my phone?
Please.
And he's like, I don't know, like, and his name, I think it was, like, Sam or something, but it definitely was not. I don't think it was actually Sam, but I don't know.
It might be Sam.
It might be Sam. He was, like, talking to me. We got in a conversation about Southeast Asia and stuff, because I don't know where he was from, but I think he was from, like, Indonesia or something.
Okay.
And so while my phone was charging, because he was like, yes, you can. And then he gave me a bottle of water. And then I tried to leave. Yeah, then I was like, oh, you know, I actually have to go. Like, I have to go. He was like, no, you should stay.
I have places to be. You're like, it's Pesach.
Yeah, I was like,
I have a Seder waiting for me. Right, because everyone's waiting for you.
Everybody was waiting for me.
Oh, my God.
I can only picture him like, oh, my God, Isa's late again. Like,
gotta make a whole appear. You gotta really make it count. That if you're gonna be late, like, you had to make it like a show, you know?
Yeah, so it's always, you know, fashionably late, but also like at this point it's not fashionably late anymore. It's like, you know,
it's rude.
I'm probably like 35 minutes late.
It's disrespectfully late.
My cousins are more like my aunt, like, and her sister, and then her son. So like I call them cuzzies. So anyway, and so we, so she was like, it was like our first mock Seder, and it ended up being a real Seder. So when I got
thankfully,
but before that happened, I had to find my way up
the Upper Westside,
and it turned out the apartment was right at the bodega, right? Who's holding me hostage, kind of like he's friendly, you know.
He just liked you so much,
and he's like. I see a doorman, and I was like, I'm gonna go ask the doorman, and he said the exact numbers that the address was, and it turns out it was like 2 apartment buildings like up from the bodega. And up the street, and I was
That's
like,
the best
you know,
part.
I tell the bodega, I'm like, hey, I have to go, and then he's like, okay. He was like, okay, call.
So long.
I was like, I'll come back, and I was like,
she never came back.
I never came back. I'm sorry, but I did come back. But it was closed by the time I left.
Of course,
because you know, and I was like at 1 a.m. or something. But I ended up going into the building. You know. You have to like telling the doorman, hey, at the concierge, hey, so my aunt's throwing Passover. If I don't go upstairs soon, like she will kill me. And he was like, oh no, I totally get that. Like, what's her name?
Oh my God, no, but like she'll sacrifice me. Like,
yeah. I was like, okay, and he was like super nice.
Yeah.
Anyway, he called up he was like, yeah, you have someone, you have Isa like coming up to you. It's like, okay, and then he told me. Send her in or whatever, you know. And then I went upstairs to the floor, and I could just hear like I forgot to ask the apartment number, and I was like, okay. No. So, but I just heard voices, and I you know, I heard voices, and you know, it was just my, you know, loud Jewish relatives, just, you know.
Yeah. No, but it was your intuition at that point. It was like Jewish energy had to guide you to find them.
Yeah, but it was good to know that they were having fun. Like, they weren't like, you know, I was like upset. Lost, but like, you know, I was like, okay, thank God they're having fun, because like I might be dead. Like, I might, you know, might be my blood on the plate.
Oh no.
But no, I walked in with the water bottle and like whatever, and they were like joking that I was like being flirted with by the bodega, and it was all good. It was, you know. It was a great night. It was just good to see them, and food was really good. But we did have to kind of rush through the Seder a little bit, because like I was late.
And everyone was getting antsy.
Everybody was getting
impatient. Oh my God.
Angry.
A bunch of hangry Jews. Not wouldn't recommend.
So I was wondering, how has this Passover differed from previous Passovers?
One of the main questions that we will ask on this episode, this minisode today.
Yeah, and we're young at heart. I know we ask ourselves these questions. I know this year has been a big year for you, right?
It was a big year. Thank you. I would say this year, I mean, we've hosted, like my family, my immediate family, we've hosted Passover before, but I just feel like I will admit on the record, I took it for granted. And I think I also took it for granted when other people would host. Like, I never actually knew how much goes into, you know, the food and like the food alone. It's like, who is prepping, who's buying it, all the special ways that, you know, not every grocery store is going to have what you need. And it's just, there's a lot that goes into it. And also a Haggadah, like I never knew, were always there. I like didn't know that you have to either buy them, someone just gives them to you, or you make one. So I decided, my sister nominated me as, I think, our like in-house, you know, family
I nominated
rabbi.
you as tribute. I volunteered as tribute.
I think I volunteered myself, but she kind of was. Our running joke was like, oh, now we have the in family rabbi, and I'm like, wow. I mean, I'm nowhere near close to the level of like what that actually looks like, but I think just the fact that, yeah, like what was really awesome was I used this site. I feel like this is gonna sound like such a plug, but I fully recommend them. It's called haggadot.com. I think we'll if you
give us money, we don't mind.
we really don't mind. And I'm about to give a raving review because they have so many different just like Haggadahs to choose from like like a humor one that had Curb Your Enthusiasm, Seinfeld type stuff.
I love that.
Oh, and also like a Schitt's Creek Seder completely. Just with Schitt's Creek, like with Moira at the end. Yes. Moira. There's also, ones that are more social justice lens and maybe more religious. There's a whole spectrum. But you literally, like, I started just customizing, like taking the readings that felt right to my, my specific family. It's not just my immediate family. It's also my uncle and, and their side of the family. And also we were planning for, like, people who, like interfaith couples and a baby. We have like a wide range of ages, religious background. There were so many things to keep in mind. And I was up for the challenge, of like piecing together what that Seder should actually look like. So I actually led I was helping to lead it as well, which was a big deal. I never had that responsibility before.
A woman.
A woman. Yes.
Neshama.
My Neshama was glowing everywhere. Yes. From inside out. And I don't even think people, maybe... It was one of those things where I don't know if everyone realized how much it meant to me. I think that we were, taking on certain rituals that in the past maybe we didn't, or we would like rush through. And the fact that I was able to, put in a little bit more like spirituality into some of the readings and also still have it be fun and interactive for like a baby, the attention span of a baby is something to consider.
Yet it still didn't have, did it have Take Me Out to the Ball Game version of like the song? Because I've seen that a couple times, but
so wait, which one? We actually didn't do that. We didn't do, I forget which part of the Seder that one's in, but what we did do for the 4 questions, we always
did. There's been to a Seder like that.
I know. We did too. We've all been there. Well, if you're Reform, I feel like a lot of Reform Jews listening would like resonate that there's always some variation, and for us, there was a mix, I think that, like, for instance, for the 4 questions, we would have the Manishana, which the youngest was a baby that can't speak, really. So I had
So who did it? Oh, yeah, the one leading the service, and you're...
I'm doing a lot here. But yeah, but then we had an English 4 questions that actually was in the style of Dr. Seuss. And everyone started getting into it. And actually my parents, they missed reading Dr. Seuss, so they really they took over that section. And that was cool. It was like, there were just like different songs we were able to put in. And I think at the end of the day, it's about like, if people, and we talked about this, if people understand the core of what's going on, like you're getting into the core of like the Exodus story and the meaning of why we're all gathered, then I think if you need different approaches to help make it accessible, then I think you're doing it right. I think you're in the spirit of what is Jewish. But I think that me and you's concern, right? And you could have, I'd love for you to add to this.
Yeah,
it's like,
yeah.
you know, when people can't even know what it was originally supposed to be. All they know. I mean, yeah, like, what's your take on that?
I mean, well, first, before that, like, I do agree that, like, I feel like everybody likes their specific part of the Seder. You know, some people love the food, some people love the story, some people love the rituals, some people love, you know, the banter in between. And, like, I think whatever can make you... It's like that's why it's kind of like, you know, there's a leader, right? But there's like, you know, different parts of the team that make
and people that participate
come together. And I mean, for me, like, I think that's really a part of it. Like, again, like the family, the mishpacha and the mishpacha, like, right, extended family, people who are non-Jewish, like they have parts they play. And for, you know, for me personally, the story is really important. Like you said, the Exodus, keeping things, you know, relevant to what's going on exactly.
Today, like in the story, and also like today. Do you mean?
Yeah, today. You know, with genocides and everywhere. And there's modern day slavery and and then but also paying respects to, like, you know, who we have lost and who you know, the you know, the Jews that were enslaved then, and respecting,
of course,
what they went through. And then also, like, kind of like, I mean, no one's all knowing, so really questioning, right? Like being the kid. I think even though there's you know, one person who's the, you know, the youngest child, right, who's asking the questions, I feel like everyone has that kid. Like everyone should look at Seder as a child.
I love that.
Yeah, and like even the and, like, sometimes you have kids, and then the kids, you have the non-Jews who come, and the people who have no idea what's going on, and they can learn, right? And then you kind of, like, at that Seder, you're kind of, like, not only, like, breaking bread, but, like, also just, like, learning.
Oh, breaking matzah, because you can't have bread.
Oh, my God, you're right. I am problematic. Cancel me.
You're canceled. I can't come to anyone's Passover until I atone.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yes. By the way, we had matzah from oh God, what are they called? You know, one of those trucks that's like they're like mitzvah trucks.
Yeah.
Mitzvah truck. Yeah, mitzvah tanks.
I've never gotten matzah from them. I just see them driving around like Washington Square Park.
Yeah, so I had to take home one of them because I'm pretty sure my, like, cuzzie, like, picked one up. Like, she went and, like, they were giving them out. And then so they were fine, but I just never had a mitzvah take matzah boxed. I probably can find it and take a picture of it. But
oh, yeah, please do. That's special.
You know, like, traditions, they're there to create a structure, but it's always good to, you know, remix it. I know you said that your uncle... Or was it your uncle or was it your...
Yeah, so I think one of the most memorable, I think what would make especially this Passover so special to me is that my uncle in particular had this big smile on his face, and he complimented how the Seder went so many times. He documented the Haggadah because there were parts of it. He just, like, I think it was so refreshing. I think that he saw a different take on something that he had always done. You know, normally a lot of our Seders have been at his house, and he was the one really leading it. You know, along with my aunt and like their family. So that was a big compliment to me. Just someone, I guess, you know, from the older generation who was just so proud of like this thing that, you know, that I worked together, you know, with my sister and my mom and forming the Haggadahs and all that. But yeah, I just felt really happy to have made him proud in particular. So yeah, that was awesome.
I'm really glad that people took away that from it and like the opportunity and be like, we need to pass it on to a new generation. And, you know, it probably can go back to maybe you guys can team up next year. And that'd be cool because, like, I mean, mixing new with, like, you know, traditional elements of the Seder.
We love that.
Also, I had to include one more thing before we close out. I'm new to New York. In Seattle, my dad would lead the Seder, and and that is hard, to transition from that. Also my mom passed away, like that was a big thing. And so now that like I'm making new traditions finally with other parts of my family here. So I think that's, the journey that I took. For me, it was a spiritual journey, but it also was just like realizing like, oh, I'm like really glad that I am in New York City, like creating my own traditions and being where I am and appreciating the people I'm around. We're not perfect, but we're making an effort to create a Seder and feel like home, after being lost in the desert in New York subways.
Amen.
Original music composed by Marnie Lothman. You can find their original and covered music on TikTok, SoundCloud, and Instagram under the handle @singing_Jewess. Well, that's the episode. Hope everyone has enjoyed listening to our musings about past, present, and future Passovers. If we've piqued your curiosity and appetite for Matzo Ball Soup for the wandering Jewish soul, we invite you to follow us wherever you enjoy your podcasting. And if there's any specific topics you're interested in hearing us talk about, or special guests you want us to have on the pod, we'd love to hear from you. Feel free to DM us via Instagram @House of Neshama, or drop us an email at neshama.interact@gmail.com. On another note, something to look out for, we have a new newsletter. We're really excited to release it. It's short and sweet love letters from us to you about our favorite Jewish things. So you can subscribe via Linktree. We're excited to see you soon.